Hello everyone, this is Mark and Nelson from Seneca Relics, and this video is in response to multiple requests we've had on our YouTube channel from folks wanting to know our methods for hunting creeks and how we've been successful, and some tips that we might have for folks that are wanting to get into creek hunting.
Yeah, we've hunted relics together for years, but only recently started hunting the creeks, probably within the past couple of years, and of course started posting to YouTube about the same time. You know, we've been really frustrated with this. You know, we haven't always had the best of luck creek hunting. We did have to pull our own method together, and we considered drastic measures before.
Like putting our boots in the yard sale.
Like putting our boots in the yard sale. But you know, over the years we have developed a method of selecting a creek, as well as a method of hunting the creeks once we're there that increases our chances of finding something.
And keep in mind, what we're about to show you is what we do. These are our methods. You can use these methods. They work for us, so I presume they'll work for others. You know, if you're in Missouri, you don't have to do any of this, I guess. But
Just go outside and find them.
just walk out your door. But you know, this is our method. What we do, you can take it, you can build on it, and create your own methods that are successful for you. Remember here, the goal that you need to keep in mind is that this video is to help you have success in hunting the creeks for arrowheads and to keep your boots out of the yard sale.
You know, one of the first things we look for in selecting a creek is a remote area. We found more often than not that the best places to hunt arrowheads also turns out to be a good place to deer hunt. You know, so we started working off the theory of, you know, if it looks like a good place for us to deer hunt, then maybe the old boys thought so too.
Yeah, they had 10,000 years to hunt those areas and probably did so every day.
Exactly. Here's a couple of points I found right next to my deer camp, just down the hill from my deer camp. So basically, I got these points at the same place I got these points. You get the idea. You know, get away from the populated areas and the subdivisions.
Now we find that in the subdivisions and populated areas that all we find are trash piles and footprints, no points.
Exactly. These populated areas seem to be more trouble than they're worth. At least for us they are. So we recommend go to the places where people like to deer hunt. That's where we have the best success. Here's a couple of examples. Here's one of my favorite deer hunting spots. And the creek running right along beside of it here. Here's another popular deer hunting site. And there's the creek.
When we're selecting a creek to hunt, as with most things in life, we found that size does indeed matter. We have found relics in creeks of this size, but when we're selecting creeks to hunt, this isn't what we had in mind. Now this is more like it. We like to hunt creeks that have some substantial size. Creeks that have this type of size usually have these large rock bars. With these large rock bars, we know that the points have a higher probability of getting trapped in there. We also try to identify creeks that are shallow enough to where we can wade through the creek without going swimming.
You know, we do hunt the smaller creeks. Usually these smaller creeks are feeders that connect to the main creek. Most every main creek that we hunt has numerous feeders that connect to it. Be sure to hunt these feeders where they connect to the main creek. We found a lot of points in these areas. We find that creeks that run along field bottoms produce more points, especially if the creek is wide and actually it runs through the middle of the field.
Now, we have had some success in hunting the more wooded areas, but by and large we find that creeks that wind along these field bottoms surrounded by wooded areas often produce points.
Yeah, we've also noticed that these areas are usually the best places to find rock overhangs, shelters, or any other kind of campsite.
And keep in mind, these creeks that wind through these field bottoms that have the shelter sites, you've got a ready supply of water through the creeks, you've got food source, and you've got shelter. All the key elements for human survival.
Yeah, if you can find all these elements, you should be able to find points. You know, one of the most important aspects of creek selection is listening to people and researching the area. You know, a number of years ago, Nelson and I were hunting a local creek, small creek in a populated area. You know, we weren't doing very good.
We were choking.
Yeah, we were choking, and we happened to run into a DNR officer there. He asked us what our business was in the creek, and we told him we were just arrowhead hunting. He then told us that we were hunting in the wrong spot. He told us about a spot where he had found arrowheads. Not only did he tell us about the spot, he gave us directions to the site. And to this day, that site ranks as one of the best places we have to hunt points.
The point here is to listen to people, hear what they have to say. We found in this area that everybody around here has a story to tell. They'll tell you about arrowheads they found in places they found them, or they'll tell you about someone they know that's found a pile of them and have them in a shoebox under their bed.
Yeah, discuss the topic with anyone you can. You know, discuss it with your friends, co-workers, you know, people coming to the yard sale to buy your boot. You know, discuss it with anyone. You know, you'll be surprised how many people have a story to tell, and not only will they tell you a good story about finding points, they'll probably tell you where they found them.
And once you've identified an area, or someone's told you about an area that you want to maybe explore a little bit, what we found helpful is to look at Google Earth. Google Earth is a great tool. You can trace the creek, see how it winds through fields, see where it goes, see the rock bars. It'll give you a sense of size of the creek, a sense of how deep it is. Basically, it tells us everything we really need to know before we even leave the house.
We can say with complete honesty that doing this type of research has worked every time for us. It's never failed. So now you've done your research and you've identified a creek you want to hunt. You found a creek in a remote area. It has appropriate size and depth. Rock bars are clearly visible. So now what?
Well, go get your boots out of the yard sale pile. We're going to head to the creek and show you what we do to better our chances for success.
You know, one of my coworkers asked me the other day, he said, how in the world do you find so many of these things? He said, I hunted for an hour last weekend and found nothing. Well, the key word here is hour.
And nothing.
You know, we probably wouldn't find anything either if we hunted for an hour. You know, keep in mind, our videos are 7 or 8 minutes long, and usually the ending is a 4-minute idio commentary. So basically our hunts last all day, 8 or 9 hours, and we only have 3 or 4 minutes of footage of something to find. So put the time into it, hunt all day. You know, you might be able to get away with an hour-long hunt if you live in Missouri or something. We can't get away with it around here.
take your time and plan on making a day of it. If you plan on making a day of it, keep in mind boredom will set in.
Especially if you're not finding anything.
Especially if you're not finding anything. And when boredom sets in, we know that attention deficit disorder kicks in, lazy hunting kicks in after that, and then from there, you have people walking behind you picking up the saugers that you left behind. And we all know where that leads. Do anything you can to keep that boredom demon from setting in. Take frequent breaks. That's what we do. Take a buddy. If you don't have a buddy, take us.
And if you live in Missouri, send gas money.
You know, there's a lot to be said about taking a buddy with you. So much, in fact, that we're going to make another video that covers that one topic alone. All we can say about it now is taking a buddy with you puts more than one set of eyes on the ground, and it makes it fun. So, if it ain't fun, it gets boring. And we all know where boredom leads to.
When you find a nice rock bar, it's important to go slow. For goodness sakes, go slow. First class way to go home empty-handed is to hunt like that.
Take your time. Most importantly, assume the point's there. We figured out that we've hunted these bars differently when we assumed the point's there and we missed it.
And we've often hunted a bar repeatedly, gone over the same area, and found points that we missed the first time around. So take your time. Don't just presume that you missed it. Presume it's there and you haven't found it.
Right. You know, often these things are easy to see. Other times, points are well hidden.
For you guys who are used to hunting fields, you have to keep one thing in mind. Hunting fields, very different than hunting a creek. When you're hunting a field, you're looking at a sea of dirt and looking for a rock. In a creek, you're looking at a sea of rock and looking for a specific type of rock or a specific shape of rock. You got to train your eyes, and it takes time. Train your eyes to find the proverbial needle in a haystack. You know, when we're talking about finding evidence in the creeks, we're not just talking about finding arrowheads. These are percussion flakes that came off the floor of our knapsack. These are percussion flakes that came out of the floor of the creek. You see the similarities between the two? Learn to recognize the signs of flint napping and the evidence.
Yeah, if you can find flakes like this, evidence like this, you can find points.
Yeah, we usually find these flakes long before we find actual relics and points. Now, obviously, the best evidence is going to be something napped, such as these here. But if you're finding evidence in the form of flint napping flakes, evidence in the form of brooks, saugers will soon follow. And then, celebration stogs are in order.
This last piece of advice covers both creek selection and success, and it's probably the most important advice we can give. Consider this clip.
You all right? You get the hell off my property, and you better get off now. So I'm about ready. My God, I'll shoot you. I got a shovel. I'll bury you.
There are no points on this guy's property. There never have been, and there never will be.
Yeah, a first-class way to ruin your point hunting experience and to get your boots back in the yard sale is to be run off by a crazy property owner with a shotgun.
And for God's sakes, people, get permission.
Yeah, get permission. Most of these property owners, what we found out, are really cool if you talk to them first. You know, just go talk to them, and things should be okay. At least they are for us.
Yeah, some even will tell us if points have been found on their property. They'll tell us where points have been found on their property, and sometimes they'll even show us points that they found on the property.
Right. We do have a method of dealing with property owners and permissions, and we will cover that in detail on a later video. Look for it. Since we end our videos with a wrap-up segment that only a few people ever watch, Professor Nelson will recap what we learned today.
I'm going to start with how we select our creeks. As we've talked about, we look for areas that are away from the public, away from congestion, away from the population, out in the wildlife areas, and out in the hunting areas. We also look for creeks that are substantial size, large enough that have large rock bars where we can walk the creek and see what's going on. We also look for creeks that wind along field bottoms. Those field bottoms we know cut away and spit points out into the creek at some point. We also, when we're selecting a creek, we do a lot of research. A lot of research before we even leave the place. We look on Google Earth, we use technology, we talk to people, we listen. Everybody's got a story to tell, and we use that to our advantage when we're selecting a creek. Now, success. We want to have success while we're out there after we've selected a creek, so it's important to take the time. We want to make a day of it. Remember, we're out there having fun. You got to fight the boredom. Go slow and assume. Assume that point is there. It's like if you're working on your car, you drop a bolt in the driveway, you can't find it, you hunt for that bolt like you know it's there because you know it's there. Do the same thing with the arrowheads. Evidence. Look for the flakes. Don't just presume that there's nothing there if you don't find a full arrowhead. Look for evidence in terms of flakes, brokes, anything that's remotely close to flint in your creek. Lastly, but certainly not least, get permission. We saw in the video clip what can happen if we don't get permission from those landowners. Best case scenario, this guy runs you off his property. Worst case scenario, he pulls a trigger. Now we all know where that leads.